Uh-oh, everyone. Welcome back to Nails Before Films. I have such sights to show you today. You guessed it, I'm doing a Hellraiser nail and reviewing the first two movies because those are the only ones I've watched so far. I like Hellraiser. I think the premise is very interesting, the special effect is amazing, and I love the body horror. It could get a bit torture pornish at times, but the idea of the films is how pain and pleasure could be indistinguishable. So I think it makes sense for Hellraiser to be somewhat torture pornish. Anyway, let's go over how heck is raised in Hellraiser first. In the first movie, a guy Frank solves a puzzle box and gets torn apart. He is pulled into a different dimension and everything returns to normal. Later, his brother Larry and his second wife Julia move into his house. Larry accidentally hurts himself and the blood resurrects Frank, who has become a bloody skeleton with no skin and little muscle. Julia, who had an affair with Frank, agrees to help him. She lures men into the attic to let Frank feed on them, who gradually regenerates. Kirsty, Larry's daughter, finds Frank and runs away with the puzzle box. She solves it and the Cenobites show up. They take people who solve the puzzle box to their dimension of pain and pleasure and want to take Kirsty. She convinces them to let her go if she leads them to Frank. Frank kills Larry and takes his appearance, but the Cenobites are not fooled and Kirsty realizes her dad has been killed. Frank tries to kill Kirsty but accidentally kills Julia. Kirsty manages to make Frank confess his true identity before the Cenobites, who then tear him apart. Kirsty reverses the puzzle box and sends the Cenobites back to their dimension. In the next movie, Hellbound, Kirsty is put into a mental hospital after the first film. Her doctor, Dr. Chennard, is actually interested in the Cenobites and their dimension. He obtains the mattress on which Julia died and uses one of his patients to bring her back. He brings Julia humans to feed on, who completely regenerates. The doctor then uses his patient Tiffany to solve a puzzle box, which opens the way to the labyrinth. Julia and Chennard enter the labyrinth, and Julia sacrifices him to Leviathan, the god of the labyrinth. Kirsty, who believes her dad is in hell, ventures into the labyrinth too. But it's actually Frank who tricks her into going. Julia finds them and kills Frank, but she's sucked into a place later, leaving her skin behind. Kirsty and Tiffany attempt to escape but are attacked by Chennard, who had turned into a Cenobite. The other Cenobites show up and Kirsty makes them remember they were once human too. The Cenobites then fought Chennard but are quickly defeated. Kirsty uses Julia's skin to distract Chennard, and Tiffany solves the puzzle box again, killing Chennard and closing the gateway to the labyrinth. With the stories out of the way, let's get into my review. Like I said, I like Hellraiser a lot. The special effects and body horror are outstanding. People who are fans of blood and gore will definitely like this franchise. The scene where Frank's body gets resurrected from under the floor is just amazing. It's easy to get an effect like that nowadays with the power of CGI, but to think they did it practically and so beautifully. It's honestly mind-blowing how filmmakers back in the day managed to make such astonishing effects without the current technology. It's believable, visually outstanding, and perfectly horrifying. I love the Cenobites too. I like how they're not good nor evil. They simply take people who solve the box to their dimension to experience pain and pleasure, which is something most of them sign up for when they obtain the box. So you can't really blame the Cenobites. I do think it's kind of annoying how the rules don't stay consistent. In the first movie, the Cenobites want to take Kirsty after she solved the puzzle box, despite her not knowing what the box does. But in the next, they don't take Tiffany despite she's the one who solves the box, because she isn't the one who wants them there. I personally think both make sense. The first one is sort of telling you that curiosity killed the cat. You shouldn't meddle with things you don't understand. The second is saying that the Cenobites have standards. They don't just take anyone, and intentions clearly matter. Or else anyone could have someone else solve the box for them. Also, I think it's fun how the movie could be interpreted as a cautionary tale for things like drugs. If you think about it, it's telling you that you shouldn't mess with things when you don't fully understand the consequences. And sometimes things you perceive as pleasurable could actually bring you unimaginable pain. You know, don't try drugs out of curiosity or for temporary pleasure. It will only bring you a lifelong of suffering. I don't know if it's intentional or not. I just think it's an interesting thing. You could interpret it as such. Besides the special effects and the Cenobites, I do like the story of the first movie. I think it's pretty interesting and original. The concept of a dimension that's essentially BDSM hell. I'm not into that stuff, but I can understand what is something people will be drawn to. It's believable that people will want to go to a dimension that they know nothing about just because they want to experience things. It shows how destructive our curiosity could be and how some things shouldn't be explored. However, I don't like the second movie as much. Besides the inconsistencies, it's just messier than the first movie. The Cenobites can die, apparently. And what's that stuff about Tiffany and her mom? Do we really need so many shots of Kirsty and Tiffany running in the labyrinth? Also, I don't like how the doctor uses his patient to bring back Julia. I got so upset when he made the guy who thought they were warns on him cut himself. I had to pause that part because of how upset I was. It wasn't the gore that upset me. I just hated that a doctor who was supposed to help these people was exploiting their sickness. That's a whole other level of evil for me. At least his death was extremely brutal. Of course, Julia and Frank are terrible too. They're the real villains of Hellraiser, definitely not the Cenobites. It's really gross how Frank keeps trying to rape Kirsty. She's your freaking niece, you freaking pervert. Isn't it bad enough that you slept with your brother's wife? You really deserve to be torn apart. You practically asked for it. As for Julia, her death is really underwhelming in my opinion. I'm not even sure she's dead. She's just randomly sucked into somewhere, I guess. The effect of her skin coming off is cool, but what the heck was that all about? And I like Kirsty. I think it's smart of her to negotiate in the first movie and use information in the second. It's also admirable how hard she tries to save her dad in Hellbound. I really like that. Overall, I do like Hellraiser. It's a unique horror franchise that actually tries to be scary and has amazing special effects. That's about it for my thoughts on Hellraiser and Hellbound. Hope you guys liked the video and my pinhead nail. It was a pain in the ass to put all the pins on there. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you want. Keep nailing it and enjoy the sweet, sweet suffering like Pinhead people.